Greetings, Foot Clan! In this video, I'll show you how we are going to make our own bottle of ooze, so that you too can make your own monstrous minions. Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Ooze.
Alright, so this was a super quick and easy build. Only took me a few hours to do, and all the supplies needed to build this thing can be found at your local craft store. Oh, hey Sable. You want to be on the show? Yeah, this was made for my Halloween costume this year as an accessory to go along with it. If that video is not up right now, it'll be up soon. Just keep an eye on my channel. I'll show all that too. You being a camera hog today? You're not even facing the camera. You're facing me. Camera's over here. Look. Look, there's the camera. Alright, to start, I had to use a long water bottle as the base of this build. I didn't know what brand would work best, so I bought a couple different ones and tried them all out to see what would work best. The label on this Life Water came off super clean and easy, so that's the one I ended up using with. The others usually left some kind of glue or would tear. Up next, I used some leftover scrap EVA foam that I had laying around from some previous projects. I used my cutting board to make sure all my edges were squared, and then I wrapped the foam around my bottle to get an idea of how long the foam needed to be to properly wrap around. And from there, I took an X-Acto knife and I cut the top and bottom of the water bottle off. I made sure to salvage as much of the cylindrical part as possible, so I had a lot of room to work with. But before I continued on with the end caps, I wanted to do the inside first. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to approach this yet, so for the most part I was kind of winging it the entire way through. Most Ooze canisters that you see, they tend to have some kind of like liquid, gel, or like a homemade goop inside it, and all of them tend to have some kind of like a leaking problem. But because this is an accessory for my Halloween costume, and my Halloween costumes I take to the roller skating rink, there's no way I want to risk having any of that stuff drop on the floor. It could cause accidents, people to slip and fall, people got to clean it up, and it's a huge inconvenience for everybody around. So I opted for kind of the illusion of liquid at best. For this, I brought out my transparent foam. I've seen this at Michael's in the past. I haven't seen it lately, so I can't confirm if they still carry it, but I did recently purchase this roll from Hobby Lobby, so I can confirm that they do sell it at the moment. This is the same exact kind of foam that you'll see cosplayers use to diffuse all the lightings with their LEDs and our props especially. It's the same exact stuff. I started by using my cutting board to cut my sheet square, and then I shoved the foam inside the water bottle to get an idea of how big it needed to be. Once I had my measurements, I cut it just a hair short. That way I could later sandwich something else in between the foam and the plastic bottle. I then grabbed some contact cement and I applied it to the two edges that would then be wrapped around together. And since contact cement takes a few minutes to dry before you can press it all together, I used that time to start painting the surface of the transparent foam. For this, I could have used just any green, but I chose this blacklight neon green because in the off chance that my LEDs weren't working, the rinks that I'll be taking my Halloween costume to will all have black lights, so it'll still light up at least a little bit. I only gave the surface a quick light coat for now. Once the paint was dry, so was the contact cement on the ends of the foam. So I wrapped it around and pressed the two edges together to form a full cylinder. And from there, I needed to come up with a way to make the internal look like some kind of ooze. One of my original ideas was just to take a lot of hot glue and just cover the entire inside of that cylinder with strings of hot glue. That would have used a ton of hot glue sticks and would have been insanely time consuming. Probably would look cool though, but I wanted to build this as fast as possible because I was at the time focusing on my costume. And that was taking priority. I just wanted to make a real quick accessory to go along with it. So I needed a faster method is what I needed. And I'm not even sure how I came up with this idea, but I decided to take some plastic wrap, cake the inside of the cylinder with paint, take the plastic wrap, wrap that around it, cake that in paint, cake the inside of the water bottle with paint, shove that all in there, swish it around a little bit, and it gave this effect of swirling paint that looked almost like a liquid or slime, but there's just obviously nothing going to move, especially once it dried. And even with the LEDs lit up, it still leaves a swirling pattern that kind of like gets lit up as well. So even in the dark, you can kind of see those swirls. And I probably could have given another wrap just to like really bring that out. But for a real quick idea, it turned out pretty neat. And the biggest positive is that there's nothing wet inside of this. So if I do drop it or break it or someone runs it over on the skate floor, nothing gets on the floor. No one's hurt, except maybe the person that tripped on it. Don't drop it. But yeah, no mess. Don't have to worry about any kind of aftermath, you know, no leaks, no nothing. Easy, clean, dry solution. And with that out of the way, we can get back to doing the end caps. I took my square I had cut before and cut it into two 3-inch tall pieces. I used a marker and ruler to start working out my measurements for the openings that would be on this. Then I measured out the spacing for all 4 slits and cut them out with an X-Acto knife. And before I started attaching anything or gluing anything together, I brought up my Dremel and I rounded off all the edges. And with all that done, I brought out my contact cement, coated the 2 sides, and let them air dry. Once dry, I pressed them together and then started working on the outer enclosures. I made 4 pieces total, 2 for the outside, 2 for the inside. The outer pieces would be decorative, and then the 2 internal pieces would help hold the shape of the bottle and give the outer pieces a surface to attach to later on with Velcro. I glued the inner pieces in place by putting them inside the cylinder while the cement was still wet. I then placed the outer layer on top of that and pressed its surface flush to the outside so that the inner layer would dry in its proper position. And while that was drying, I sealed off the ends of the bottle with more transparent foam. This way the end caps would have more surface to contact with when I cemented them in place. And from there came time to put on the end caps. I applied contact cement all through the inner portion of the cap and slid them on while wet. And with the caps fully installed, came time to install the LEDs. These were a cheap kit from Walmart's Halloween section. I filled the string lights inside the bottle and then applied contact cement to the inside of the one lid and the end of the one battery pack. For the end caps, I wanted to do a little extra detail that's not normally on the canister. I cut out a couple strips of foam in the shape of a triangle so I could apply it in between the openings on the end caps. I figured this would make it look a little bit more visually interesting, and it would also stop it from rolling and make it good for photos to get those proper angles. And from there, the only detail left to build was the nameplates. This was thin 2mm EVA foam, and I did my best to cut it to size. This was about 2 inches tall and spanned out the entire way to the ends of the end caps. And once cut out, I applied them to the canister with some contact cement. And the base construction was done. The only thing left now to do was paint. I started with a base coat of black acrylic. Since I didn't heat seal or prime the foam, I had to give it several coats to cover everything. And once that dried, I used a metallic silver acrylic paint. And from there, I used one of my silver Sharpies and highlighted all the edges on the end caps. This would help make all those details pop. And then last but not least, we needed the lettering for the Tgri. I just drew these on with a Sharpie, but in hindsight, I could have used some 2mm foam too, but that felt kind of unnecessary, especially for my time constraint. I just measured out my spacing to make sure I had enough room, drew up kind of like a template to get everything aligned up right, and then just kind of crossed my fingers and winged it. And there we have it. Our very own vial of mutagen ooze. This is by no means perfect, but if you're looking for an accessory to a Ninja Turtles costume, this is an insanely quick and inexpensive accessory that you can churn out in a weekend, if not in one night.
And now, with this vial of ooze complete, I shall now turn this cute kitty cat into a monstrous creature to do my bidding. There. Ooh. Well, this isn't menacing at all. If anything, it's kind of cute.